We use the most advanced artificial intelligence available today to document the 10 most common changes that creatine causes in the bodies of men over 40 when taking 5 grams daily. The industry never tells you about number 6. Few supplements have grown as much as creatine in recent years. Today, it sits on the shelf of the young athlete training hard, the middle-aged adult racing against the clock, and even the older man concerned about maintaining his own strength. But with all that fame comes a problem. Any quick search throws you straight into videos from sponsored people interested in selling the tub, not in telling the full truth. The possible negative effects almost never come up. That is why we decided to remove the human factor, with all its commercial interests, from the equation, and ask an artificial intelligence directly, with no sponsorship whatsoever, what really happens in the body after 40 when you take the standard dose of 5 grams every day. Effect number 1, possible increase in muscle cramps. This is probably the oldest concern surrounding creatine, and it makes sense that it exists. For years, the popular reasoning was simple. If creatine pulls water into the muscle cell, it would be stealing fluid from other parts of the body, encouraging cramps. The artificial intelligence pointed out that when you look at controlled studies conducted with college athletes and even military personnel in intense training, that direct relationship is not confirmed. Most research has not found a significant difference in the incidence of cramps between those who supplement and those who do not. What is generally behind a cramp after the age of 40 is something else entirely. Dehydration, low intake of electrolytes such as sodium, potassium, and magnesium, or simply a training volume above what your body is used to absorbing in that particular week. If you experience cramps when starting creatine, the first adjustment is not to stop the supplement, but to look at how much water you are drinking throughout the day and at the quality of your diet. It is worth remembering that after 40, tendons and joints already need a little more care before any intense effort. So a good warm-up remains the most effective defense against cramps and muscle discomfort, with or without creatine in your routine. A common mistake is to associate any cramp that appears months after starting supplementation directly with the supplement, when many times the real reason is a harder training week or a poorly slept night. Effect number 2, weight gain on the scale. This is almost always the first noticeable effect, and it tends to frighten those who do not know what is happening inside the body. In the first few weeks of use, it is common to notice an increase of 2 to 4 pounds on the scale. This is not fat. Creatine increases the ability of your muscle cells to retain water, which leaves the muscle more hydrated and, in some cases, with a slightly fuller appearance. For a man over 40 who has already been closely monitoring his scale numbers for health reasons, it is important to understand this difference before panicking and cutting the supplement midway through the process. The extra weight tends to stabilize after the first few weeks and does not represent any documented cardiovascular or metabolic risk. If you want to confirm that the variation is water-based and not fat, a simple check with a measuring tape or body fat percentage will settle the question. What many people do not know is that this water retention occurs inside the muscle cell, not under the skin. So it does not leave the body looking puffy or bloated as some people fear. On the contrary, as the weeks of consistent training go by, the muscle often appears denser and more defined, precisely because of this intracellular hydration combined with strength training. Effect number 3, changes in blood test results related to creatinine without indicating kidney damage. Here is one of the points that generates the most confusion, even among health professionals less familiar with the subject. Creatine, when metabolized, produces creatinine as a natural byproduct, and it is exactly creatinine that appears in the blood tests used to evaluate kidney function. This means that when you supplement, your creatinine levels on the test tend to rise. A doctor who does not know you use creatine might, at first glance, interpret that number in isolation as a sign of kidney overload. The scientific literature that follows healthy individuals using the standard dose over long periods shows no real damage to kidney function. The practical point here is simple and worth more than any theory. Always inform your doctor that you supplement with creatine before routine tests, especially after the age of 40, when checkups tend to become more frequent. If there is a real concern about kidney health, the safest path is not to abandon the supplement out of caution, but to ask your doctor for additional tests, such as the glomerular filtration rate, which provide a much more complete picture of kidney function than creatinine alone. Men over 40 who already have annual routine tests have an advantage here. Simply note your creatine use at the next appointment and ask the doctor to interpret the result with that context in mind. Effect number 4, improved recovery between sets. This is one of the most studied and most consistent effects in all the literature on the supplement. Creatine increases the store of phosphocreatine inside the muscle, and it is precisely this compound that your body uses to regenerate adenosine triphosphate quickly during short, intense efforts, such as a heavy set of squats or bench press. In practice, this means that between one set and the next, you recover strength a little faster, managing to maintain technical quality and load for more repetitions throughout the workout. For those who have already passed 40 and feel that recovery between efforts has become slower than it was a decade ago, this effect carries extra weight. It is not magic that eliminates fatigue, but it is a real and measurable advantage in strength exercises that depend on short, repeated efforts. Regular practitioners can generally maintain the same load for 1 or 2 more repetitions before noticing a drop in performance within a set, which over months of training translates into a considerably greater accumulated stimulus for the muscles. Effect number 5, improved cognitive function. This is perhaps the most surprising effect for those who only know creatine as a gym supplement. The artificial intelligence highlighted that there is a growing line of research linking creatine use to modest improvements in short-term memory tasks and processing speed, especially in situations of sleep deprivation or high mental stress. The brain also uses phosphocreatine as an energy reserve, so it makes physiological sense that supplementation would have some impact there as well. It is important to be honest here. This is a field of research still in development, with more robust results for muscular performance than for cognitive performance. Even so, for a man balancing a work routine, family, and training, any extra help with mental clarity throughout the day tends to be welcome. It is worth noting that this possible cognitive benefit seems to be slightly more evident in people with diets low in red meat, since that is one of the main natural dietary sources of creatine, and in older individuals whose natural stores of the compound tend to be lower than those of a younger adult. Before we continue, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Having constant access to science-based information is what will help you progress with long-term health in the world of exercise. Effect number 6, possible gastrointestinal discomfort at the start of use. And here, we arrive at the effect the industry rarely discusses with the same clarity it uses when talking about benefits. A portion of users report a feeling of bloating, mild abdominal discomfort, or even episodes of diarrhea in the first few weeks of supplementation, especially when the dose is taken all at once on an empty stomach, or during a loading phase with amounts well above the maintenance dose. The explanation is relatively straightforward. Creatine in large quantities needs to be dissolved and absorbed by the intestine, and a momentary excess can overwhelm that absorption capacity. The practical solution used by those who have gotten along well with the supplement for years is generally the same. Split the dose throughout the day, always take it with food, and avoid aggressive loading phases by going straight to the maintenance dose of 5 grams daily. If you have heard of lower quality creatine causing more discomfort, keep in mind that variation in product purity also directly influences this effect. A mistake I see many people make is giving up on the supplement in the very first week because of this discomfort, without first trying the simplest adjustment of all, which is reducing the amount taken at one time and spreading it across the meals of the day. In the vast majority of cases, the digestive system adapts within a few days, and the discomfort disappears completely. It is worth reinforcing that the loading phase, that much higher dose used in the first few days by some people to accelerate results, is not mandatory. By taking 5 grams daily from the start, you reach the same level of muscle saturation within a few weeks, just with far less chance of experiencing any discomfort along the way. Effect number 7, your hydration habits will need to improve. Since creatine increases water retention inside the muscle cell, your body begins to demand a slightly larger volume of water to function well. For a long time, the myth circulated that creatine dehydrates or increases the risk of cramps for exactly this reason, something that, as you saw in effect number 1, does not hold up in controlled studies. What is real is the need to adjust your hydration routine, especially on more intense training days or in hot climates. After 40, many men already drink less water than they should, simply because the sensation of thirst tends to become less precise as age advances. Supplementing with creatine can be exactly the nudge you needed to pay more attention to this basic habit, which impacts not only training performance, but also joint health and digestion. A simple and practical reference used by many experienced practitioners is to observe the color of your urine throughout the day. Very dark shades usually indicate the need to drink more water, while a light color is a good sign that hydration is on track. Effect number 8, possibility of slightly increasing total training volume. As a direct consequence of improved recovery between sets, many practitioners are able, over time, to sustain a slightly higher training volume without accumulated fatigue compromising their technique. This can mean an extra set on a given exercise, or maintaining the same load for more repetitions than before. For the over 40 audience, this gain in volume should be handled with caution and gradual progression, since tendons and joints typically need more adaptation time than the muscles themselves. The ideal approach is to use this extra recovery margin to add volume little by little, week after week, rather than trying to take advantage of it all at once, right in the first few weeks of using the supplement. A safe progression for those who have already been training for years is to go from 3 to 4 sets on just one exercise per training week, evaluating how the body responds before repeating that adjustment on another muscle group. Effect number 9, strength gains on heavy exercises. This is, without a doubt, the most documented effect in all the creatine literature, and one of the few supplements on the market with this level of consistency across studies. Regular practitioners can achieve, on average, measurable strength gains on compound exercises such as squats, deadlifts, and bench press when supplementation is combined with a structured training program. The artificial intelligence pointed out that much of this gain comes from the combination of more available phosphocreatine and the slight water retention in the muscle cell, which appears to favor internal signals linked to protein synthesis. For a man who has already been training for years and feels that personal records are becoming harder to break, this can be one of the most motivating effects on the entire list, especially because strength maintained throughout life is directly linked to functional independence in old age. Getting up off the floor without support, carrying heavy groceries, or climbing a flight of stairs with ease at 70 starts. In practice, with the heavy sets you do today. And creatine enters here as a quiet ally in that long-term process. Effect number 10, less muscle loss during periods of immobilization or injury. This effect is less talked about but extremely relevant for the over 40 audience, a time in life when an injury or surgery can require days or weeks of immobilization. Studies that followed individuals during prolonged rest of a limb observed that those who supplemented with creatine during that period lost less muscle mass and strength compared to those who did not supplement, even without being able to train normally. The mechanism behind this appears to involve maintaining a cellular environment more favorable to the preservation of muscle protein, even in the face of forced inactivity. In practice, this means that maintaining supplementation, always with medical clearance, during an injury recovery phase can help reduce the time needed to return to the level of strength prior to the problem. After 40, when any sprain or surgery tends to take more time away from training than it did at 20. That kind of quiet advantage makes a real difference when it is time to return to an exercise routine without feeling like you have to start from scratch. Now that you know the 10 main effects, here is the bonus effect that closes this list on a high note. Bonus effect: preservation of muscle mass in the fight against sarcopenia. After 40, the body enters a phase of gradual and natural muscle mass loss called sarcopenia, a process that accelerates even further from the 50s and 60s onward if nothing is done to contain it. The good news is that the combination of regular strength training with creatine supplementation is, today, one of the strategies most supported by science for slowing down this process. Creatine appears to enhance the effect of training itself on muscle protein synthesis, which helps the body preserve and in many cases even gain lean mass at a stage of life when the natural tendency would be to lose it. The artificial intelligence highlighted that this may be, in practice, the most important effect on the entire list for those thinking about long-term quality of life, because preserved muscle mass is directly linked to a lower risk of falls, greater functional autonomy, and a more active metabolism as the years go by. If there is one reason for a man over 40 to seriously consider including creatine in his routine, even without any aesthetic goal involved, this is probably it. Remember that no supplement replaces the stimulus of strength training itself. Creatine works as an enhancer, not a shortcut, so the combination of heavy sets, good nutrition with sufficient protein spread throughout the day, and quality sleep remains the foundation of any serious strategy against sarcopenia. And remember, if you decide to start taking creatine, it is important to always take it after eating a carbohydrate, as this improves absorption. Never take it on an empty stomach. That is a mistake. If you want to see the other mistakes you should never make when taking creatine, so you do not waste the supplement's potential, we have left a video appearing on screen right now showing each of them in detail. Make sure to check it out. Thank you for watching all the way through, and may God bless you, my friend.